So in your directions, it says find all the solutions between 0 and 360. So these could have more than one solution, and they do. Some of them have 4 solutions, some of them have 2 solutions, okay? So you just have to answer the question, look at your unit circle, you got it all in front of you. So the first thing I'm going to do is try to leave the cosine squared alone. And the way I do that is by first adding 1 to both sides. So we are dividing by 2 on both sides and getting cosine squared of theta equals 1/2. So we've left the cosine alone, and the cosine is squared. What do we use to undo a square? The square root, right? And these are problems that you're going to have to square root both sides. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other side. Okay? So the cosine comes out clean. And now I have, whenever you're square rooting to leave a variable alone, you have to consider the plus or the minus. And what I'm going to do is give each guy their own radical. Okay, so now we have cosine of theta equals plus or minus 1 over root 2. Whenever there's a radical that can come out clean, just get it out of the radical. Square root of 1 is 1. Remember you have to remember the plus or minus in front of your solution. We've done this with other things before. Whenever there's an equal sign and you're square rooting to leave the variable alone, that's the deal. Well, cosine of theta equals plus or minus 1 over root 2. We got to get the radical out of the basement. And we have cosine of theta equals plus or minus root 2 over 2. All right, so cosine of theta is either positive or negative square root of 2 over 2. Take your handy dandy unit circle, and we're going to find all of the first numbers, remember cosine's the first guy in the parenthesis, that are square root of 2 over 2, and write those angles down. And we get 45, we get 135, we get 225, and we get 315. And those are the answers that satisfy that equation. We found the angles that make that equation true by square rooting both sides of the equation. So this guy has some things with signs on it and some things with plain numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the signs to the left by changing their signs. So plus 7 sine squared of theta. And I'm going to move the numbers to the right. Well, if I have negative 3 sine squared and 7 sine squared, I really have 4 sine squared of theta. And over here I have a 1. The sine squared is not quite alone, so we divide by 4. And we get sine squared of theta equals 1/4. Well, now we have to square root both sides. So I get sine of theta comes out clean equals plus or minus 1/2. And now I look at my unit circle and see who has a sine of 1/2, and I get 30 degrees, and I get 150, and I get 210, and I get who else? And those are your answers. Those angles make that equation true.